It's Monday, June 27th.
From inside the WTOP newsroom, this is the DMV Download, brought to you by the men and women of Steamfitters Local 602. Get an estimate and learn more at steamfitters-602.org.
Today, the fallout from the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe continues. We talked to the Archdiocese of Arlington after one of its churches in Reston got vandalized. Spokesman Billy Atwell urges a peaceful dialogue.
There is a tension. There are people who disagree with us to the point that they would result to vandalism or violence.
And July 4th is a week away. Mike Litterst with the National Park Service walks through changes to the fireworks plan on the National Mall this coming weekend.
You know, it's one of these situations where everything old is new again.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Cloherty.
And I'm Luke Garrett. A Catholic church in Reston, Virginia became a target following the Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade. Parishioners found a community church defaced by graffiti, and there was also a fire lit on the church grounds.
WTOP's Luke Lukert is here to tell us what happened and how churches are navigating a time when the court's decision has pulled, religious institutions into the limelight. So, Luke, where did this happen?
This was in Reston, Virginia at St. John Newman Catholic Community Church, part of the Diocese of Arlington.
And do we know, what the motive here was or what the graffiti said?
It's pretty clear that it had to do with Roe v. Wade.
Oh, really?
And the overturning of Roe v. Wade. All the messages were implied. Some of them were pretty explicit.
Okay.
Obviously, if you followed history, the Catholic Church has always been big opponents of abortion rights.
And so what did this vandalism actually look like? There was spray paint, there was some fire?
Yeah, so there was 4 different spots of spray paint. Right when you drive into this church, there's a big sign with the church's name on it. Right below that was a message, and then several messages scattered around the actual building.
And this wasn't the only act of vandalism since Roe was overturned on Friday. Just a day later, on Saturday, a church-affiliated crisis pregnancy center in Lynchburg was spray painted with, this is the quote, "If abortion ain't safe, you ain't safe." So, of course, right after the Supreme Court issued its decision, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin appealed to Virginia's civility. Did the governor respond to the acts of vandalism at all, Luke?
He did for that Lynchburg in particular. From what I've seen, he has not responded to what's happened in Reston. But I'm sure his message would be very similar. And he basically said there's just no room for this in Virginia, and breaking the law is unacceptable. And honestly, it was very similar to what the county board chair said as well. Jeff McKay said that, and he's a Democrat, but he also said there's no room for destruction of property. Mm-hmm. There's no room for vandalism, violence of any sort when discussing politics, essentially, and getting your message across.
And have we heard from police at all whether there have been any arrests in this case?
No arrests have been made so far. I just actually called Fairfax County right before I walked in here. It seems like there's decent security footage that they're reviewing. But yeah, the investigation is ongoing.
We'll see where it goes. Luke Lukert, thanks for telling us about the story.
Thanks.
We now turn to Billy Atwell. He's spokesman for the Catholic Diocese of Arlington. St. John Newman Catholic Community Church is a part of this diocese. Billy, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
So abortion is a key issue for the Catholic Church, and it's polarizing. Given the leak last month, were you all at the diocese, prepared for this decision to come down? And how did you prepare for it from a security perspective?
Yes, that's a great question. So prior to the announcement, we knew that no matter what the decision is, this is going to have a lot of tension. It's going to create a lot of tension in society. And so we had reached out to our pastors at our parishes and reminded them to kind of maybe refresh some of the security protocols. A lot of them have a security team that helps identify situations that could be problematic and then help report to law enforcement. The key part of that plan, of every plan that they have at the security level, is local law enforcement involvement and relationship. And so they had already contacted local law enforcement. We had a parish vandalized a couple of months ago. So we had already kind of been through this routine even before the announcement was made. And so the pastors were ready to the extent that they can be. And again, that close collaboration with law enforcement was very helpful in us responding quickly to the situation that happened at St. John Newman Parish.
Luke and I were speaking about this before your interview, but we said, how do you prepare for vandalism? Are we talking about you said working with local law enforcement, but is there something that the parishes can do on their, from a physical standpoint, putting up cameras, or was any of that happening as well?
Yeah, some of the parishes have cameras. It really depends on the parish because we go all the way from just on the other side of the river from the border of Washington out to Luray. So it's a wide spectrum of parishes and abilities. But many do have cameras, and so you want to make sure that those are as active as possible and recording properly all the basic technical needs. But additionally, with law enforcement, asking them during certain times to send more patrol cars through the parking lot, just checking and surveying, making sure everything's okay. And just that occasional presence can deter some people that don't want to get caught for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And Billy, do you have a sense of kind of where the diocese is at? Are people scared at this point?
I've not gotten the sense that people are scared or anything like that, but there is a tension, that we may be called to, pay a price for our faith. There are people who disagree with us to the point that they would resort to vandalism or violence. Luckily, this has been extremely, isolated in our diocese, but there have been larger situations in other dioceses. But no, we're people of hope, we're people of faith, and we know that there will be challenges that come our way. And we trust that Christ will guide us through the good times and the tough times.
Because many of us are clear on where the Catholic Church stands on some of these big issues that are coming out, how is the diocese navigating the court decisions that we knew Roe versus Wade was going to come down? The religious expression decision today, the Supreme Court sided with a football coach up in the Northwest who was leading his players in prayer at the 50-yard line after each game. Some of these things are so closely tied to church teaching. So do you think this is a time where the church should be vocal, or is it a time where you kind of let things happen as they're happening?
Well, it varies depending on the case, but in specifically the Dobbs case, because we're dealing with abortion, we want to be sensitive because there are a lot of victims, and obviously Catholics, we do not believe in abortion. And so, but there are many women out there who have had abortions, and we work with a lot of women in our ministries who have come to us because they've faced many, emotional and spiritual and even physical scars from abortion and regret it deeply. And so we've walked with those women. We, in our medical clinics, assist women in need who have nowhere else to go, and they've been told all they have is abortion. And they find out from us that's not true. And we're there to walk with them and help them. So this is a time where we try to be compassionate and understanding. And yes, this is a victory, we believe, that this goes to the state level, where at the state level, further decisions can be decided. There isn't this kind of blockade. But we have to be very compassionate and understanding that this is damaging. There are many millions of children who have died from abortion. And at the same time, there are many women who have been hurt from abortion. And then there are people who disagree with us. And we have to manage all of these things. But we have to do it with charity. We have to do it with a sense of peace, with a sense of hope, but also with a sense of strength that we do believe in these teachings. And we believe them to be true, not just for us, but for all people, that all life is sacred and all life should be protected.
And getting to that sector of the population, even within the church or either outside, who just, ardently disagree with the church on this issue of abortion. How does the church, speak to them, talk to them, and react to that disagreements?
I think principally lovingly and understandingly. Try to listen and understand where they're coming from. There's a reason they believe what it is that they believe. But we'd also encourage them to really understand what we believe also. The church has been very consistent in its teachings, especially on the most fundamental issues like life. This is not new for the Catholic Church. And so this is a teaching that's been handed down for many, many generations and hundreds of years, even thousands. And so I think listening and genuine dialogue is where a lot of harmony can happen, even if you don't agree in the end. At least you know that you care about each other and that you heard what the other person thinks and why they think it.
Definitely an interesting time to be an American, and we appreciate you kind of breaking this down for us. Billy Atwell, the spokesman for the Catholic Diocese of Arlington, thank you very much for your time.
Not a problem. Anytime. Thank you.
After the break, what are you doing for Independence Day next weekend? If you're in town, you'll be happy to learn how things are going back to normal for the 4th. Backed by the experience of its hardworking members, Steamfitters Local 602 is ready to take on your next commercial, heating, cooling, HVAC, or refrigeration project. Steamfitters Local 602 adds value to our community through its partnerships with local contractors and building owners, all while keeping the focus on improving the lives of its members and their families throughout the DMV. For work that's on time and on budget, go to steamfitters-602.org to schedule your next project. That's steamfitters-602.org. Steamfitters Local 602. Changing lives.
Gas prices have been going crazy lately, but here at WTOP, we have something that might help.
It's called Fuel Your Summer, and it's WTOP's free gas giveaway presented by Astound Broadband. All you have to do is go download the WTOP app, register on the My WTOP page and enter for your chance to win $100 in gas gift cards per day and the grand prize of free gas for a year up to $6,000.
During the month of June, fuel up on us. Just download the WTOP app, register, and enter for your chance to win today. Fuel Your Summer is brought to you by Astound Broadband, powered by RCN. Boost your internet with a gig and experience better. Visit astound.com. So check it out as soon as you can.
Independence Day is fast approaching, and while most Washingtonians tend to avoid the crowds and watch the fireworks from their favorite spots around the city, for the first time in 2 years, the National Park Service is putting on the full celebration on the mall.
So, of course, we have the fireworks and the parade, but Mike Litterst from the National Park Service says the location for the fireworks this year is different. And Mike, this change may be familiar to some of us who have lived here for a while, right?
It's one of these situations where everything old is new again. This year, the fireworks will be shot off from both sides of the reflecting pool, which we did last year. But this year, it's only from the reflecting pool. We had experimented for the last few years with some alternate locations, including West Potomac Park. And this year, we're going back to the traditional location of firing them off from both sides of the reflecting pool.
And because the fireworks will again be shot off from near the reflecting pool, is there any area that will now be blocked off where perhaps visitors may have watched the show last year or vice versa?
The area north of the reflecting pool in Constitution Gardens, the memorial to the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, that area is closed this year because it's within the fallout zone. But because we're not shooting the fireworks off from West Potomac Park, that entire area will be open. So the area between the Jefferson Memorial, past the FDR Memorial to the Lincoln Memorial, that area is all open this year where it was closed for the last couple of years.
And people might forget because it's been a few years since we've done this, but the fireworks start at 9 o'clock. But there are other events going on this coming weekend as well to celebrate Independence Day, yeah?
We've got a full day's worth of events and a couple of returning events that took off a couple of years because of COVID. The day starts with Smithsonian's Folklife Festival. That starts at 11 o'clock in the morning and is on the mall in the area between 7th and 12th Street. The National Independence Day Parade is returning again this year. Kicks off at 11:45 in the morning down Constitution Avenue between 7th and 17th Street. A Capitol 4th concert returns to the West Lawn of the U.S. Capitol. And after 2 years of virtual presentations due to COVID-19, the venue on the West Lawn is open to the public again this year to enjoy the live broadcast. And then, as you mentioned, what everyone's waiting for all day, the fireworks launching at 9:09 p.m. Got a great 17.5-minute show. Take us right up to a little before 9:30.
And we're going to put you on the spot here, Mike. What is the best or your favorite place to watch the fireworks?
Well, yeah, you're gonna put me on the spot, indeed, and make me choose a favorite among all my children on the mall. There's really not a bad place to watch from the mall. If you're by the Lincoln Memorial, you get a great view of the fireworks with the Washington Monument, the Capitol in the background. If you're on the other end, if you're at the Capitol, you get just as great a view of the fireworks with the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial in the background. There's plenty of room on the mall. We've got people that show up at 10 o'clock in the morning to choose their favorite spot. We've got people coming out of Metro 8:45 and having no trouble finding a spot either.
But you've got to have some kind of secret hookup, Mike. Have you ever seen the fireworks like from the top of the Washington Monument or something insane? I mean, you're the Park Service guy. You can go anywhere.
I would love to say I've seen them from the top of the Washington Monument, and one of these days I will. I did get to watch them from the roof of the Lincoln Memorial a few years ago, and that was pretty spectacular.
Amazing. Well, those are the perks of the job for being with the National Park Service. Mike Litterst, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to it.
All right.
And before we go, there's a cute story about some ducks in Virginia that we have to share.
Yes, it was an exclusive story, an exclusive duckling story that happened at Ashburn Elementary in Loudoun County.
Yes. And the teacher, Miss Bradenberg, noticed that there were actually 12 eggs in this portion of a school that was like all gated off. Well, I think actually a gardener first noticed it, then told her. And she said, how are we going to get these ducklings out? I mean, they can't fly. Like ducklings, chicks can't fly.
Yeah. And the kids were like, I think it was right before school let out. So the kids were very concerned about what was going to happen to the ducklings.
As they should be.
And she promised them she would watch and take care of them.
This past week, the eggs hatched, all 12 of them. and the teacher corralled them through the entire school. There's a video of it on WTOP.com, and it's pretty fantastic. You can just see like all these humans with like blankets and stuff, like just kind of zhuzhing and corralling these little ducklings through school as if they're going to school there. But they made it. They made it out of the school and to a little pond, and they're free.
It's a happy ending to this kind of intense, times we live in. We thought we'd end with a nice story. WTOP's Neil Augenstein had the exclusive of this. So he tells the story. If you go to WTOP.com, he tells it in a very kind of child storybook way. It's very
cute.
A
children's book. Yeah,
it's
the web
cute.
story and the audio. It's great. It's a great listen.
And that'll do it for us today on the DMV Download. We're sponsored by Steamfitters Local 602. Our managing editor is Craig Schwab, and our music is by Real World.
Give us a review and rate our show if you get the chance. And follow us on social media, where we post content every day from behind the scenes. You can find out more about this podcast and become one of our VIP listeners at dmvdownload.com.
The DMV Download is a product of WTOP News. Listen on 103.5 FM in the D.C. area, 107.7 FM in Virginia, 103.9 FM in Frederick, Maryland, online at WTOP.com and on the WTOP News app. Have a great Monday night.